Back here on the Bobcast, Fielder Dennis alongside Coach Becky Fletcher. Firstly, Coach, what did you think of your team's performance this past week?
Oh, we had a rough week. We knew we scheduled some tough competition to get us ready for conference play, and Mary Wash is great. They're a great volleyball team. They just beat the number 7 team in the country. So I think going in there knowing that they were going to swing fast and play fast and serve aggressively at us and go after our blockers, they they did that well. We played some really great points. We played some really great rallies with Mary Wash. I think in general we learned a lot, and we have this super young team, and that's kind of been the what we revert back to all year. We're saying, we're young, we're here to learn. Can we learn something from every point we play? Can we learn something from every match we play? So I think we learned a lot against Mary Wash, and I think we learned a lot against the other teams we played this past weekend.
So what do you want to see from your team following a tough week leading towards this week?
I want us to take those lessons that we learned in blocking and how aggressive our offense needs to be and how efficient our offense needs to be. We've had matches in past weeks where we've hit 500 in sets, and we still didn't win the match or the set even. And when we hit below 100 or even not positive, I think that it's really tough to win a volleyball game. But we're figuring out how to stay in some of those games. So it's just a few little tweaks. It's a few less unforced errors. It's a few more kills. It's a few more aces. 3 or 4 more points either direction helps us a lot.
Yeah, not to get too cliche, but it sounds like the "what doesn't kill you makes you stronger" has
absolutely.
been the motto for team right now. And that's something that you can build off of. Like you said, you can learn from those mistakes and grow with them.
Yes, absolutely. And I think for the most part, I think we are, and their spirits are staying up. I think there are definitely times where they get frustrated, but I like to see when somebody can come back and have a hitting error and come back swinging the next and not play it safe.
You got to keep moving forward. That's the big thing. Okay, this week you play CNU in another conference matchup. What can we expect to see in that match in particular?
Christopher Newport is going to come out swinging. They're going to be very aggressive offensively. They're reasonably strong defensively and in serve receive, but I think that their strength is definitely their front row. I think that it's going to be the same game for us. Serve and pass has kind of been our bread and butter for a few years now, and I think that when we do those things well, it helps our offense tremendously. And so hoping that our young front row is doing a great job blocking and doing a great job getting some offense going for us and getting our middles involved. I mean, this past week we had Biamba back for a couple of matches. I don't think she's quite 100% herself yet, but it's really good to see her out on the court and that energy she brings to that court and the stability she brings to that court and the leadership she brings to our team. I think Christopher Newport's going to be a tough match, but I think that anything is possible, and I think that if we come out and feisty and ready to play hard, then there could be some really good results.
You talk about having this young front row.
Yes.
How important are these reps during this tough time of the season?
So reps are important as long as they're really good and quality and mindful reps. Obviously, we've played a lot of matches already this season, so we want to make sure that we're resting them as well as training them. So that's kind of a tricky balance when we've played. I don't even know, 19 matches?
I think 18. Yeah.
17, 19 matches, somewhere in there. So we played a lot of matches, and just making sure this week is our first week where we have 4 full days to train before a match. That's really exciting to be able to get some individual work in and maybe a little bit of rest, not kind of go after it too hard, but make sure we're well rested going into the CNU match.
Yeah, so you find it's important to balance that rest with the production
absolutely.
on this time out. Yeah, that's very important. Yeah, as the season goes on, those bumps and bruises start to add up. And definitely.
There are weekends where we're playing 4 matches in under 24 hours. That can be 10 hours of volleyball if the sets go to 5. That's a lot of volleyball.
Yeah.
I like it, though.
Yeah. You got to love it. You wrap up this week with 2 non-conference opponents. Mm-hmm. Do you see anything specifically from these teams in this squad that you want to kind of focus in on,
I
Or
think Newman and Lebanon Valley are consistently really strong programs. They're very similar to some of the other teams in our conference, say a Salisbury or a York. Um, so it's good for us to get experience playing teams that are like teams in our conference, and that's kind of what we've been doing for the Christopher Newports and the Mary Washes, and then we've got teams like Love Valley and Newman that will help prepare us for other teams in our conference. They're not quite as fast as Christopher Newport, they're not quite as big as Christopher Newport, but they have a little bit more ball control, and they're just a little bit different paced game, but still very strong teams.
it's kind of interesting how these schedule kind of shaped up. You played a conference game, and then you go back to some non-conference, but you also have a conference game in this week. Is that any kind of design to that? Like you said, these teams are similar to Christopher Newport, so was that by design to play these type of teams?
Some of it's by design. Some of it's about educating our team about what steps we need to take to be a really great team. Most of it's just about preparing us, because I think it's easier to play harder teams out of conference, and then when you get to conference, if you're playing easier games, then it makes it seem like you're doing really good things. So I would say train harder than you need to play, and I think that's a really great way to go into it, is making sure we're training against really great volleyball teams, so that way when we go into conference games, those games seem maybe a little bit slower, a little bit easier, or whatever that needs to be for our team.
All right. Thanks, Coach, for the time.
Thank you so much.
Back here in the Bobcast, Field of Dennis with Coach Keith Byrnes. Coach, firstly, a couple of great hard-fought games this past week. What'd you like from what you saw from the players?
Well, Saturday was just nice to come from behind and at least get the tie, which is something we hadn't done. And we also responded. I thought after playing kind of poorly in the first half, we put a much better second half together and a much better overtime period. Just showed a little bit more energy and a little bit more urgency. And Dickinson was sort of like that, where it got flat for a little bit. And then at the end of the game, I thought our urgency was there, but it was too little too late, and we couldn't get that last goal to tie it up.
Yeah, going back to Dickinson, you put in the first goal of the game with Mo Odala. He now has 4 goals on the season. What is he doing that's working at that up top position?
His strength is his defense right now. He does a good job of leading the press, puts people under pressure. I think 2 of his 4 goals are picking the balls off a keeper's feet because he just pressures back passes, and if they're a little casual with the ball, he's got a long, lanky leg that he gets in there, and it's been very effective.
Yeah, and it seems like on throw-ins and whatnot, you want to use his height and jumping ability to get some flicks to get it, back behind him. Is that something you emphasize as you are building in that attacking third?
Well, he's the one that takes the long throw-ins, but on the corners, he's definitely in there as a target player. I mean, he's good with his head, and he is tall, and he attacks the ball well, so he's someone we definitely either would use for flicks or just as a target player to try to put something on frame.
How much of an advantage is it to have somebody who can throw like Mo does into he puts it right on the PK spot almost every time he's down there?
I mean, it's definitely helpful. I mean, at our level, balls get scored when balls are in the box, and you got to make people defend. So, at some point, if there's a poor clearance or just a missed touch, it just leaves open opportunities. If it's not a direct header or volley from us, it is a way to put teams under pressure and make them have to deal with the ball in the box. And a lot of times that's what the game comes down to.
So from Mo Odala now to Caps Kapinde, he's had a couple goals here at home. Has he been a spark plug for the team's offense, in your opinion, early in the season?
I mean, he's done well. I mean, I think he needs to be more consistent still. He's done what he's supposed to do. I mean, he's out there to be creative and hopefully add to the attack. And I think getting was it back-to-back games he did have the goals, or maybe not. Maybe it was the game before that. Mm-hmm. But he's added to our offense, and when we didn't have him in the beginning of the season, I do think we look a little bit different now with him out there. So hopefully he can kind of continue to progress, from what we want to see from him.
He scored that goal in the most recent game off of the set piece with Randy Putnam, and credit Putnam for putting it right on the back post, but it was just perfectly executed. But were those kind of set piece designs drawn up during practice and practice, I guess, during the drills?
I mean, in a way. I mean, we talk about where we want the ball to be, where we need the runs to be. By now teams are scouting you out, so they kind of know what's coming. So it's just about the execution of it. It was a perfectly placed ball, and the run was there, so he was able to just get the foot on it to tap it in.
Getting to the most recent game against Kings College, just a great game with a lot of emotions. Did you like what you saw from your guys in terms of energy and passionate play?
Yeah, like I said, the first half, I thought, again, even after we got the goal and then we subbed, I thought we got a little bit flat and we let Kings kind of in the game and start to kind of take control a bit. Second half, I thought we showed a little bit more heart and desire. Even after giving up the goal, we came back and fought to get one back. And I thought did enough to create chances to get the third and the game winner, but it just fell a little bit short. But yeah, the passion was good. The energy was good. Again, we're still a work in progress, unfortunately, but there's always bits and pieces that we like and things we can build on.
In most recent games, you had some strong fan supports behind the bench there, chanting for the team. That's always great to have in terms of energy. Here in the early portion of the season, there are a lot of younger players playing. Is that something you envision coming into this season?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, we have 18 freshmen and sophomores on the team, so that's the majority of the team right there. And I think we start 8 freshmen and sophomores. So, I think we have talent, but we're young, and a lot of times we play young and make young mistakes. It'll be nice to get to the point when those guys are juniors and seniors and just a little bit more seasoned and have some experience. But it is nice to know we have that going forward and things we can build around. And once things start to click, hopefully that experience they got as younger players will carry us forward.
Do you think them being so young that the confidence is starting to grow as they stack more games upon an experience?
Game by game, yeah. I mean, they still have to start to play consistently and do it back-to-back games, do it for 90 minutes and not have these little mental lapses and breakdowns because we still have them. I mean, we're giving up goals on mistakes. Until we stop doing that, we won't probably win the games we think we should.
After seeing a few games in person, Brett Basham and Blake Getz have been great holding that back line. What have they done that is just working as a defensive kind of anchors back there?
I mean, they're ball winners. They keep their shape well. They're tough. I mean, they just do the role they're supposed to do as center backs. I think they organize the guys in front of them to the sides of them. They're usually pretty good about blocking passing lanes, covering for each other. So, yeah, it's been a great tandem right now. I mean, most of the goals that we do give up don't come from the middle of the field. It's usually, like I said, a mistake in the box or somewhere out on the flanks. Maybe we just didn't defend properly. But they've been holding it down very nicely in the middle.
And for Getz in particular, every time there's a corner kick, they're looking for him back post to head it back across the face of the goal. He's found his way in a couple of assists. Is that something you want to keep doing, keep going forward with him coming up there for corners?
Oh, yeah, I mean, he's a target player. He's a big guy. He's good in the air, and he just always has a knack for finding the ball, whether it's as a target or just a flick or whatever. He's just there's some guys that just have that innate ability to find a ball on those set pieces, and he's one of them.
Yeah, it's always nice to have those kind of guys. First CAC game this weekend at Salisbury. Have these non-conference games been good tests for your squad?
They've been good tests, but we still, I don't think we're firing all cylinders yet. Again, I think hopefully we're learning from all the mistakes we're making. I mean, we've got a lot of them, so it's useful, and the games were successful for us if we're learning from it, and if we can get better and eliminate these mistakes coming into the knowing that it's only 6 conference games now that. Yeah, the season's almost over, it feels like. So, don't want to start off 0-2 because then we're really behind the 8 ball there. But, hopefully we learn from these mistakes in the early games. And they've all been competitive enough, but, we're not playing where we want to be, that's for sure.
Coach, good luck this weekend, and thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Back here on the Bobcast, Field Dennis with Coach Brian Parker. Coach, just talk about how you thought your team played against Chatham in the last game.
Obviously, it was a tough result. We allowed pretty much a last-second goal. But the performance level of the team was pretty good. We scored a terrific goal, and I think it was probably enough to stand up. Chatham was probably bigger, stronger than we anticipated, and based on what we knew of them and some of their results. So, credit to them for being a challenge to us and really presenting some problems for us. But overall, the spirit of the team was high. The energy was high. You know, like I said, we scored a terrific goal and unfortunately made one too many mistakes, you know, in the back.
You talk about the spirit and energy being high after a game like that, and in those double overtime games where you face that last-minute goal, it's very heartbreaking. But there are some positive, like you were saying. There's some things to be built from that in terms of like facing adversity and kind of building that kind of culture. Do you think that happened with your team? Just grabbing some positive from a game like that.
Well, obviously that's the challenge, right? You don't want it to hurt too much, that the spirits are low and that you're not in such a hole emotionally that you can't recover, of course. But, there's always positives to take from it. And like I said, a well-taken goal, a nice combination with our strikers was a great moment. There were some other very good individual performances, made us, and tweaked our lineup in the back a little bit. And we think that went very well, on reflection. You look, competitive sports is a 50-50 endeavor. If we all knew the outcome every week, it wouldn't be any fun. There's going to be plenty of drama, and you always feel like you're in position to win. You feel prepared. You have confidence. You want to win the games, but it's not easy to go undefeated. So you're going to obviously get some results maybe you don't deserve sometimes, just like you're going to lose some maybe that you feel like you don't deserve. And I think this was a game that I think we certainly had earned a draw in. But, girl hits a dream shot in the last minute of the game. Those things will happen. I'm sure at some point they will happen for us too.
You talked about using some combination to score in the game against Chatham earlier in the week against Bridgewater. There's some opportunities, but you couldn't find the back of the net. And I saw in practice during the week a lot of finishing drills using that attacking third, finding feet and whatnot. But, is that still going to be a point of emphasis? These first 7 games, the goal scoring hasn't been at a premium, but the practice and the drilling has improved that as we've gone forward.
Yeah, obviously you have to first recognize and almost kind of admit as a team where your shortcomings are, and then obviously prepare good reps in practice and good training sessions and environments to improve those things in your players. And so, we do the analysis. We obviously get feedback from the players. We are obviously looking at tapes and reviewing video, and so we need to be better up front for sure. Honestly, we could be better in a ton of ways, as you can imagine. Every coach sort of thinks they're never good enough. I think most players have the same mentality. So yeah, we did some better things up front and scored another terrific goal between 2 forwards, which has not for some reason been particularly easy for us this year. So certainly, a little bit of progress that we've made, and again, we're thickening our skin, so to speak, for the conference games, and that's what we're hopeful for.
So what can you say about the play of Haley Turney here in the early portion of the season? She's been really strong at the attacking third and kind of in a few games wreaked havoc on that back line. What can you talk about her performance?
Well, she's one of those players who has the athleticism and the energy, but just needs to think as fast as her body is moving sometimes. So when she's actually a little calmer and a little more thoughtful and kind of applying her pace and athleticism at the right moments, I think she's super effective. And so part of that is she's learning that, and part of it is a comfort level and confidence that's she's growing into. But there's no question that she has those physical skills that can make a difference for us, and we'd like to see that a lot more.
Absolutely. Looking forward to this week. You play Gettysburg on the road. What do you want the message to be for your team going into that game?
I think, you just have to continue to focus on your goals. Why are you here? What is the end all? Obviously we haven't played a conference game yet. Gettysburg is another tough, competitive team that really plays good quality soccer. We're going to travel down there and see how we match up with them. They beat, I think, McDaniel recently, who beat us a couple weeks ago. So another great test to just kind of see where we are against a very good team, and a very excellent game to prepare us for Salisbury next weekend. And, we'll go down there and give our best.
That leads me into my final question here. This weekend you play your first CAC game against Salisbury. Do you think these non-conference games have really got the team prepared for the early road conference contests?
Well, that's the idea, of course. And, having the right mentality is a big part of that. Nice to have the extra day to prepare, I guess, for the weekend with the Tuesday game. Again, it would be awesome to get off on the right foot, but it's not a requirement. We're going to be in our conference tournament. We're going to, we're fighting to get a top 4 place. We're playing down at Salisbury on a Saturday. Our scouting of them is already pretty good, and I think we match up very well in a lot of areas of the field, and it should be a great competitive game. But, we'll see how it goes. Again, we want to put teams behind you. That's the whole idea of a conference schedule. Can you win? Can you get points? Can you put teams behind you? You got to put 4 teams behind you to get into the top half of an 8-team bracket. And so it could be Salisbury, maybe not. We play 2 of the best teams right away in our conference, and we'll see how it goes. But I think the mentality of the team will be good, and I think it will have a very big game feel to it, and I think we'll be prepared.
All right, Coach. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much.
Spieler Dennis with head coach DeLane Fitzgerald. Firstly, Coach, what are your overall thoughts on your team's performance this past Saturday?
I thought we played really well on defense. I thought we really well. Take the one play out on defense and us jumping off sides a couple of times, and we were sharp on defense, and we're happy about that as a coaching staff. The young men on Saturday defensively ran to the ball, and then we tackled fairly well when we got to the football. Proud of the way they asserted themselves on Saturday.
Speaking of that defense, you held Rowan to under 100 yards rushing. What were they doing in the matchup that really caused the Profs a lot of trouble?
Coach Kelling and the other defensive assistants, they were moving some things and giving Rowan defensive alignments and defensive fronts that they hadn't seen all year, and we were moving defensive linemen and moving linebackers, and we were blitzing and stunning and being aggressive, and it just give Rowan problems. We're more athletic than the Rowan players on offense, and it really gave them some trouble.
Coach, was it a point of emphasis to wrap up open field tackles this week against Rowan, because the way they played, it's side to side, a lot of motion offense, and they're trying to get you to spread out? Was that a point of emphasis going into the week?
There was an emphasis in practice last week of us tackling better. We weren't unhappy with the way we had tackled the first 2 weeks, but we knew that we had to start tackling better if we were going to be a contender in this conference, and we improved some last week. Now, the next 2 weeks, this week the bye week and next week in preparation for Wesley, we're going to continue to work to get better at tackling and turning the football over. We need to strip the football. We need to get a few more interceptions.
Andy and I spoke about before the game how important the linebackers were to that game, and Wayne Palmer and Morgan and Jake Brochard, those guys were going to be so vital to stopping that offense. What can you say about their performance on Saturday?
Wayne Palmer and Jake Brochard have run to the football, and when they've gotten there, they've tackled with authority this fall, and we're pleased with that. We're really happy with that. And then we've got another 4 linebackers that are playing well, those 3 freshmen that we've talked about a couple times now, and then Draquan Reed. And we're still waiting on Draquan to turn loose and have a big game like he had for us a couple years ago several times. But he's playing well. He's playing good. We're waiting on him to play great.
Shifting gears here, 2 straight weeks with a punt block touchdown and a receiving touchdown for Malik Morris. How important is he as a playmaker for your team on those 2 phases of the game?
Yeah, there's the question of the day, question of the week. How do you block two straight games, two straight weeks? You block a punt that goes for a touchdown, you don't get special teams player of the week in the conference. And I'm not sure, and a good research project for everybody, when was the last time a player blocked 2 punts and scored a touchdown on those 2 blocked punts in back-to-back games? I would say that'd be rare, very, very rare. Now on Malik and how he's playing as well or better than anybody in our football program, and playing as well or better than anybody in our conference, doing a great job. Malik's always been a good football player, and now in his 3rd year here, he's starting to exert himself, and his athleticism is really, really hard to contain. But yeah, he blocks a punt and scores on it, and then he had a huge touchdown catch for us to open up the game.
Another display of balance on the offensive side, 184 yards rushing, 257 yards passing. How does the versatility of your quarterback, Connor Cox, play into how you orchestrate your offense?
Yeah, not Connor's best football game here. He's played better in football games than he played on Saturday, but then you go back at the end of the game and look at him statistically speaking. If he was unsure of the pass read, he just didn't throw the football, and he ate a couple of sacks. But in him not throwing the football, he didn't make any mistakes on Saturday, and he finishes 15 for 21 for, did you say 256?
257, yes,
257, sir. Yeah, 15 of 21 for 257 is a real good game. 2 touchdowns passing, 2 touchdowns rushing. What Connor didn't do is he didn't make any big mistakes, with the exception of the interception. He didn't make any big mistakes on Saturday. We are a talented enough football team that if he doesn't make mistakes, we're going to win football games.
Staying on Connor Cox here, who's named NJAC Offensive Player of the Week. What can you say about his performance here in the early portion of the season, and how big is it to have a senior quarterback, running that offense? It's got to be huge with all that experience.
Yeah, a testament to his mom and dad and to genetics that Connor cannot be his best self on a Saturday and still win Conference Player of the Week. We're happy that he's our quarterback. Been happy that he's been our quarterback for the last 4 years.
Coach, you have a bye week this week. Then it's a big NJAC matchup against Wesley. What's the focus for this week in particular?
Aren't y'all tired of hearing me? The focus is to get better. The focus is for us to get in a coaching staff too. Now I'm going to leave here and I'm going to try to get 1% better today also, but to try to get 1% better each day this week. And we've currently got 123 young men on our roster. If we all get 1% better today, we're 123% better at the end of the day. But we're going to try to improve this week. In our bye week, we're going to try to improve, and we're going to polish off some rough edges, some things that we haven't done well in our football program the first 3 games, while also looking towards Wesley 2 weeks from now. So we're going to work on ourselves a little bit, and we're going to work on Wesley a little bit this week and attempt to get better and get better and get better. And then when we come back on Sunday and get it cranked up for game week, it'll be all Wesley, 100% Wesley. Great game in 2 weeks.
How much do you like to balance rest on the bye week along with, practice? Does that come into play on that one-off week?
I don't know if the word rest has ever crossed my mind. 42 years on this earth, I don't know if I've ever thought about rest. We can rest later on in life. We're going to work.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, looking forward to the bye week this week and then the big game next week. Thanks for talking with us.
Go Bobcats.
The Bobcast, Fielder Dennis with Coach Kaitlin Thompson. Coach, you grabbed a win yesterday against Ferrum. What did you see differently from the team in that game as opposed to the previous ones in the week?
Definitely finishing a lot more. That was something I said after the Bridgewater and Goucher games that we needed to do better, and we did a great job of drawing the corners that we needed to get, working the ball around pressure to move up the field, and just putting the ball in the cage. So that was great.
Yeah, I noticed in the game earlier in the week here at home, you guys got a lot of penalty corner opportunities, which translates to aggressive offense and offensive opportunities. Is that something you want to see going forward a lot more often?
Yeah, we really believe in our attacking penalty corner unit. I think, with Taylor Hackett being our main striker, Ashley Myers being a great striker for us, Molly Pickard, we have very good attacking penalty corner units, so we would love to just draw as many as we can to try and get more goals out of that.
And it seems Kara Morrell always delivering a pretty
for
solid
sure.
ball to the attacking players. So in that game against Ferrum, the win, the offense exploded for 8 goals. Do you think this brings some confidence to the team for the upcoming week?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think, the stat to me that was most important was not only did we get 8 goals, but 8 different people on our team contributed to those goals, which was fantastic in getting not just a few players involved, but the whole team involved in that strong win. So I was very proud of the girls.
It's the old saying, I know in basketball, and it sounds like it's going to translate in field hockey as well. You just need to see one go in, and that kind of can get your offense going. Is that because can it translate here for field hockey as well?
Yeah, you could definitely see the girls starting to believe in themselves a little bit more and just starting to really feel it. I mean, we had 16 shots and 8 of them went in. So, that if we could keep doing that rate, that would be fantastic.
Tightly contested match in the early portion of the week with Bridgewater and Roanoke, and then do you think having that adversity kind of helped in that win against Ferrum? You're going through those tough games and being right there and kind of building and growing.
Yeah, I think that we did a good job building this week. So, against Goucher, we had 1 goal. Against Bridgewater, we had 1. And then Roanoke, we had 2. And then we exploded in Ferrum for 8. So finishing was definitely a big emphasis this week. I mean, I think on our practice on Friday, that's all we really did was some finishing drills. So our girls did a good job of translating that and putting more balls into the goal, and I was excited to see them do that. So
I saw you out here a couple times early in the morning last week, like around 6 a.m. You guys were working on some finishing drills. So obviously that was a point of emphasis going into the week. So getting to this week, you guys head to Pennsylvania to play Juniata on Wednesday. What should we expect in that game?
Yeah, Juniata is a tough team. They made it to the NCAA last year. They won their conference. They're definitely a tough team, and I love having them on our schedule because they're a team that's going to get us ready for our strong CAC opponents. So I'm excited to see, what the defense will bring against Juniata and our girls finishing against a NCAA tournament team.
Yeah, and we spoke earlier in the season, the defense was playing really well. They were holding the back line and keeping everybody in front of them, and they're still doing a very solid job. What can you say about them now as the season's kind of progressing? You've had some injuries, and now, you're getting more offensive focus, but the defense is still doing their job.
Yeah, I think the shutout against Ferrum definitely is a confidence booster for Smizer and the rest of the defensive unit. So just moving forward, looking for them to remain solid, do what they know they can do, and just be confident back there. I think that shutout against Ferrum definitely helped with the confidence.
Yeah, shutout can do wonders for your back line, definitely. Okay, so after the game against Juniata, there's a week off until your next game. What do you want to do during that time leading up to CAC play?
So we're obviously going to have a few practices, and then we're going to have a day or two off. So I think it's really important not only for the girls to work hard while we're in every practice and the Juniata game leading up to it, but just to make sure we're rested mentally and physically, so that way when we come into the second half portion of our season, we're ready to work hard and just continue to be fresh, and field hockey still remains fun for us and not just like it's a chore, but it's fun for us to go out and compete every single day.
Yeah, so you're a firm believer in taking some time to kind of regroup on a bye week.
Definitely. And I think it's important too because you do have to remember these girls are student athletes. So, having a little bit of a break too to help catch them up on their schoolwork and everything, I think is definitely important as well. So, yeah.
So, like we said, we're going towards CAC play. Do you think that this season's non-conference schedule will really help come CAC time?
Yes, definitely. Our game against Lynchburg was a tough one, but I think having those tough teams, playing those tough teams, our game against Elizabethtown, a lot of people in the CAC are playing the same teams that we're playing out of conference. So it's fun to kind of look and see what the other teams did against those teams. So that way we can kind of compare and see, okay, well, they did this against them, so we can do this. And just the growth that we've had going through our non-conference schedule, I just think, again, we had 8 new players this year, so having them see that tough competition early, kind of like a welcome to college thing, was definitely very useful for us. So I'm excited to see what we can bring in the CAC.
And not to downplay the non-conference schedule, but, that's not the part of the season that really, really matters. It's that CAC play, but you're right, being able to get seeing different teams and different styles and comparing them, that's really important.
Yeah, after each game, we've just kind of been emphasizing, what can we take away that was positive from that game? What can we take away that, maybe we don't want to see again? Maybe we learn from it a little bit more. So that's been, our growth moving forward and heading into the CAC play for this season. So,
well, Coach, looking forward to Wednesday. Hope to continue that winning streak.
Thanks.